Okay, we are recording. So, good evening to everyone. I'm just basically going to take you through what you need to be doing the remainder of this week and into the beginning of next week, and then setting up for what will happen in Philadelphia for the executive weekend, utilizing prototyping and teams. I know a couple of you, I know Nicole, I think you asked if you could attend that.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, that will not be a problem. If you are, just let me know, or the team will let you know where we're meeting. We're up in Pearlstein in room 302. Pearlstein is the building that is right past the new LeBeau College on Market Street. You cannot miss it. So.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Well, you can't miss the new LeBeau College. That definitely. Plus, it also has the major Starbucks. So Pearlstein's the next building up. So that's not a problem. Okay, so what we're going to do is I just want to lay out the next things that you should be moving into as a team, and what that looks like. Well, obviously that button's not working, so we'll do it this way. So we're in week 4 flow, and really over the first 3 weeks and into this week, you should have been looking at all the data that's out there, all that material, the SACS material, videos, anything that you guys are looking at, the Wall Street Journal. And so the question now that you begin to really begin to formulate is, what are you now learning from the field, from that information? And as you go through that process, all of the teams have identified the challenges, and now the question is, what do we do with that challenge, and how do we begin to move towards in the 5th week prototyping? So we're sort of trying to let go of our old downloading of what learning and schooling is about, and we're beginning to move into the phase of crystallizing. So what that means then is basically this, and again, I keep going back to this to keep reiterating that this is the interactive structure that's taking place. So with the design thinking, you've already defined what your challenge is. You've been looking at that material. And so now we're moving into ideation. And the ideation then really is designed for you as a team to develop an empathetic understanding of that material, what it means to creating the possibilities of new structures for learning going forward. And so we're now playing around in the ideation component of design thinking, which then in the 5th week, the end of the 5th week, we'll move into prototyping, and then remaining after that, we'll be testing out the ideas as you build your final model. So again, I want to reiterate how the design thinking interfaces with the U, and also with our iceberg concept. And right now, when you're looking at the iceberg, basically you've been playing around with the mental models, the assumptions that you have as an individual and collectively as a team, and now you're going to start looking at the possibilities of what the systemic structures will look like in relationship to your new design, which then the systemic structures will emerge out of your ideation process and prototyping. And within that, you're going to be defining the types of patterns and trends and behaviors that this structure will create for people. And then what you will finalize do is to create an event to show what's going on. So again, I just want to make sure that I keep reiterating what the framework is, for your thinking around this process in 801. So with that, then again, as I basically pointed out, you're pulling out, and I actually should put 804 in there too. But as a team now, you define the purpose of what if you think about yourself as an educational development company for designing the learning environments, And so what I've done is basically come up with this. So this is, the challenge that I threw out there. And so from that, here's what Team 4 looks like. So what Team 4 has given me is that your challenge is looking at creating this community a system of education that looks at foundational structures that support connections of understanding, both from a local and global society. So this is 4's challenge. This is what 4 is looking at, and will start to do an ideation process around that particular challenge. Then Team 1 is really talking about, their challenge is looking at a sustainable, accessible, and affordable model of education that encourages students' autonomy, creativity, and connections to the real world. And so they will be working off of this type of concept that will drive what their ideation process is. And then Team 2 is really developing a concept around storytelling as the central focus of what learning is about. Redesign education around storytelling to affect broader changes. And so that becomes their particular challenge. And then Team 3, again, what their challenge is talking about is structuring a sustainable technology-based education program that again is looking at connecting learners from around the world, et cetera. So, and really what it's trying to do is to collaboratively address global issues. And then I did not get, and this is okay, but make sure you get it to me. Team 5, I don't know what your challenge is, because you did not send it to me as of yet, but please do that. So I want to make sure that all 5 teams are understanding what each other's challenges are, particularly when we start giving feedback when the prototyping takes place. So,
Dr. Gould, is that my team? Because I thought I emailed that to you.
What team did you do? Who's talking to me? Because I think
I'm sorry, it's Nicole.
no. Hang on one second, Nicole. You did send me. You're not Team 5.
Oh,
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, Team 1.
you're Team 1, Nicole.
Team 1, yes.
okay, thank you.
So, Dr. Gould,
Yes.
this is Jen Valori. I'm Team 5. I'm not sure if anybody else is on here, though. I don't think we were aware we had to send it to you, but we will. We were the wine people.
Ah, yes, that's right. I was ready for that. See, you guys, now listen to me. You must have been doing the wine, because I did make the statement in my voice announcement.
I listened to your voice announcement, and I talked to everybody today when I was coming on.
Yeah.
No, honestly. Well, anyway, so we're the wine people, but I will get you that information.
Okay, very. Again, now listen, guys, remember, I did this Sunday morning. So if you guys were the wine people Saturday night, well, I can understand.
Exactly. I was thinking about the same. They started drinking on Sunday.
There you go.
Well, we do meet on Sunday nights. So.
Anyway, so who said learning can't be fun?
So sorry about that, but I'll get it to you.
Okay, very good. So this is the framework. Now, what's going to happen is, in terms of ideation, so basically what ideation is about is really what you're going to do within the team from an individual point of view and collectively is start generating a lot of ideas from what your team has learned from the data that you have read or you looked at, you played around with in relationship to that challenge. And then you're going to move into a brainstorming concept that is really going to encourage you to get outside of your traditional way of thinking, really blocking your downloading of what schooling and education is, to come up with, as I have there, it's these wild ideas that spark visionary thoughts. So again, if you think about it, it's Team 5 using wine as the basis of it. It allows you to look at these different ideas. But again, what I really want to push you towards is divergent thinking here. And if you have a tendency to be very convergent, allow yourself this opportunity to at least, play within that field. And the other thing is, because you have your personas, think about the personas as you're doing the ideation process, because I think they will help you to kind of free up the possibility to play with ideas. So that's the ideation. And now the steps in terms of what you'll be doing is, first of all, now is you're going to now tell you to stop downloading, but really what I want you to do is download what you have learned from all your sources. So again, that process becomes important in terms of the team. But then as individuals, what I want you to think about before you meet the next time with your team is, what are the top 5 ideas that jumped out for you as you look at this stuff and as you think about it in relationship to that challenge, and then share them with each other in terms of your team. So you want to work off of, okay, here's 5 ideas I've generated. The other team members have generated this, because this now is going to create this pool of ideas that you're going to be able to utilize by beginning to look at commonalities. Because what you're going to then do is, as you look at how these themes or the ideas begin to interact and group together, you're going to start then creating themes by looking at the patterns and relationships among your ideas. Now, what's important about this, even though it's part of the design thinking, it's also an important component to doing your research, particularly if you're going to do qualitative research. Because if you're going to do qualitative research and you're going to interview people and you're going to bracket your own thoughts while you're collecting data from individuals who you might be doing some interviews, such as the type of interviews you did in in 625, what will come out of that process called coding and then leading to themes, I want you to at least understand that this activity is also designed to help you to begin to understand qualitative research. So from all of these themes or these ideas, so each team's going to generate about 25 to 30 ideas. What you're then looking for is putting these themes together and find out what's common with them, which ones seem to cluster together, and is some type of theme emerging. And a theme would be, a sentence or two, well, not a sentence or two, just a sentence or a couple words that identify the commonality of those ideas. Okay? That makes sense to everybody? Okay. So then next, what you're going to do is, now you're going to craft insight statements. Now, one of the handouts I gave you has what an insight statement is, what they are, and how to do that. Now, what I did was I've taken, you'll have, so if you can see this, this is part of the handouts, how to find the themes. Then the next section is, how to create, hopefully you can see that, how to create a insight statement. So I want you then to begin to rephrase the theme into a short statement of what your concept is about now. What is it? So you got a challenge. Now you're taking all that data. Now you're finding themes collectively. Now you're going to start creating a whole series of statements that are going then to allow you to develop how might these statements which you develop can lead to opportunities for design. So that's the important thing that now is going to emerge, that as you begin to think about this. So for example, when you look at global interactions, what type of theme emerges that allows that to happen? What would be the statement about what it is? And then from those statements, what then can we begin to think about in terms of designing something physical, which then leads us into brainstorming possibilities of design to address your challenge. So again, remember I gave you an example of the one team who created this solar learning car, or not car, but van that would be used in areas, particularly in Africa, that would bring education to people. And so they began to brainstorm the possibilities, they began to design things, and then they started creating a prototype of what this is. So the ideation now, so what your team needs to do when you look at these, your next task now as individuals is to at least come up with 5 ideas that have really been jumping out at you as an individual, then collectively share those. Then out of looking at those, see how the different ideas come together. You know, what are the relationships? What type of themes then emerge out of that? Then begin to craft some statements that will lead to designing something. All right? So it's pretty straightforward what you have to do, but the main thing is keep in mind the idea of not allowing your downloading of you know, well, yeah, this makes sense, but it's, you know, voice of judgment or voice of cynicism come into that. So be very much aware of that. So the next thing then is the brainstorming activity, and mainly next week I want you to play around with this. So what you're going to do is, in brainstorming is, you're really going to allow the team to come up with all types of crazy ideas of what the possibilities of this learning environment might look like. So defer to judgment. So again, voice of judgment, voice of cynicism. Don't allow any idea to be, you know, said, no, that's a stupid idea. Don't allow that to happen, because the tendency is a lot of times in groups for that to happen. Then encourage crazy ideas. You know, get out there. You know, even if the idea doesn't seem realistic, who cares? Because what it is said is, what you then might do is spark something in someone else. And I think a couple of the videos you've been watching helps to, you know, reinforce that type of idea. The other thing in terms about brainstorming ideas, you build on the ideas of others. Think and rather than but. So always think about it from, yeah, well, and if we did this, as opposed to, yeah, but that's, I don't know if that will work. So again, these are the rules that generally are accepted from a brainstorming process. Now, this is important. The more you begin to play around these ideas, try to make them as visible as possible. Draw ideas as opposed to just writing them down. You know, use stick figures, use, you know, sketches, you know, can say more than many words. So, you know, explore the possibility of presenting the ideas more and more visually, because what's going to happen when you get into prototyping, and if you've been reading about prototyping is thinking with your hands. And that's what you're going to do on Saturday. When you come into the room, I'm going to have a lot of stuff there for you to really begin to play around with in terms of thinking with your hands. And then finally, you know, one of the things is you're going for quantity. All right, generate as many ideas. Set an outrageous goal. We want to come up with 50 or 60 ideas that, you know, will really help us to begin to stimulate the thinking within the team, because that's what good prototyping, or what brainstorming leads to good prototyping. So when you surpass it, then the best way to find one good idea is to come up with lots of ideas. And so to start brainstorming, one of the things we always talk about is you know, to get the team going, basically ask a simple question: how might we find a needle in a haystack? Come up with all the ways of how you can find a needle in a haystack. Or, you know, another thing you can begin to think about is brainstorm things that you could never do at your school when you were a student. Or then the other thing is, ask everyone to draw his or her neighborhood in 1 minute. And again, I think that one TED one you saw, I think it was Brown, they asked people to do something, draw each other real quick. So these are ways to get your mind into a playful sense, so that it allows you to defer judgment allows you to free yourself up from from downloading past assumptions. So these are the rules that I want you to do. And so this coming week, I want you guys really to brainstorm possibilities of what this new structure of learning can possibly look like for you. Now, obviously, Team 5 is going to have an advantage because of what they're utilizing as the stimulus for their brainstorming.
That's the goal.
So we'll just leave it at that. So that's the rules for brainstorming that I want you to follow. Then what's going to happen is basically this, is that once your team has completed your brainstorming activity, then you begin to bundle these ideas together. So the way you looked at originally your own personal ideas, before you started brainstorming, now what you want to do is, okay, here's all these crazy ideas that have emerged. Now, how do we begin to bundle these ideas together? And so if you have trouble explaining the data, one of the best ways to deal with trying to put it into words, again, goes back to drawing out the ideas. What does it look like? If one of you have some artistic, ability to do that, that would be great. Or do the stick figures. Third grade stick figures are how most of us think about art in general. But if you have that tendency, if you think about the Ken Robinson's drawings of his lectures, how they draw those things out, or if you remember in the MOOC, how she was drawing out all those concepts that were coming across. So you go back in the MOOC, you can get those ideas. But that's a very important concept to do. And then what you're going to look at again is what are similarities that have come out from our brainstorming, our clustering into groups. What are these ideas looking like? And then ask questions how the best elements might live in the system that you would create. So all of these ideas that you're having is, how would they live within this system that you're creating? What would it be like? And again, I want you, as you download the PDF of this, so all this stuff is there for your teams. I just want you to experience this the way I have it there, and then eventually we're going to talk about how you're able to negotiate this and how you're able to learn this way, because I think this becomes part of the learning process for you to understand this. Because as a leader, if you're going to lead any type of change within an organization, you need to know how, first of all, turn the mirror into yourself as you begin to play around with these ideas, and then collectively share that idea. So if you think about turning the mirror into self, you think about Heifetz and Linsky's, the idea of understanding that difference between technical and adaptive processes, or the idea of being able to see the broad picture from the balcony versus being on the dance floor. These are important concepts that I want you, to one extent, struggle with a little bit, but struggle in the sense of developing a learning process. So that's going to lead us into prototyping. Now, these pictures that you see are from other classes, so you get an idea what Saturday's going to look like. All right, so these are from other cohorts over the last 4 years that have been doing this, so you'll get an idea of what's going to happen. Now, if you see here, hopefully you can see my my little pointer going around. You see the person with the computer there? Well, that's where we did a combination of the Harrisburg group with the online group. And so what happened was members of the team, even though they physically couldn't be there while they were building, they Skyped in. So you'll see people doing that. So it's up to your team, to figure out, if it's possible for those of you who are online, who do want to come in, physically, you're welcome to do that. Or if it is possible, during a time frame that you could come in as your team is building. And, it's not mandatory, but I'm giving you a lot of different options, and other teams have done that. So you can see what they're doing there. So what prototyping then is going to be is, after you've taken these ideas from your brainstorming, then the idea here is to make something really rough as a way to help you to think the idea through. So as you can see, people are building things about these designs that they were putting together. And then secondly is, this process is about learning. It's not about getting it right the first time. It's exploring, playing around, moving objects around, thinking with your hands. And then finally, what it is the main goal of prototyping then is to make an idea just tangible enough to elicit a response. And so what will happen is, on Saturday, a week to Saturday, is once we do the prototyping and the teams have put those together, then we're going to go around the room and each team will explain to the other teams what their prototype is about. Okay, because that will help you get that. Now we're going to condense it down. It's really cool when you do this in an organization, when you have a lot of time and you can spread it out over a couple of days and sustain time. It really becomes a powerful tool, but I want you to at least get a sense of what it is. So what the prototyping then is, so here's, so if you're going to create a prototype, here's some of the things. You can create a storyboard. So you can see what storyboarding, so you can visualize it, draw it out over time, make cartoons by doing, well, here's the beginning, here's the middle, here's the end. Another one is you can create diagrams. You can map out the structures, the networks, journeys, or process, for your data, or not for your data, for your idea. Another thing is to create a story. Tell a story, from the future. What would this look like? Particularly, there's a group there that's going to use storytelling for that. Well, maybe your prototype's going to be around creating a day in the life or a day in the year of what it would be like for this learning environment in the community. You can create an ad, create a fake advertisement that promotes the best parts of your idea. The other thing is you can create a mock-up. Now, generally what happens is the mock-up, if you have digital tools, you could do it, using that. But what we a lot of times will do, and I'll have available for you, is to really create a model. Put together simple three-dimensional representations of your ideas. So I'll have plenty of stuff there for you to do that. And when you saw those pictures of people doing that, many of them did a mock-up, to explore that. And then the other one is that you can actually create a play, to act out the experience of what your idea is going to look like. So these are types of prototypes that you will do. And then Saturday, I'll review these very quickly, but what will happen is when you come into the room, what I'll have available for you is all types of props that you can create diagrams, storyboards, or three-dimensional models. So that's basically what this is about. So this week and into the end of next week up to prototyping, I want you to follow that framework that I had for you. Let me go back. I think I can quickly. Let me take these out of here. So basically, again, I want you to go through this ideation. By doing this, this is the emerging area. Your 5 ideas, the emerging themes. Craft the insight statements. So I gave you material that you can look at in order to do that. To help you through that process. Then, as you're going along, if you need help with this or you want feedback from me, anytime, give me a call. Let me know when your teams might be meeting. I'll see if it's possibly for me to come into that process. The only problem I got next week is I'm going to be in Cape May at the Bridges Conference. So it will be, difficult for me to come in on Wednesday or Thursday night. So, but otherwise, Monday, Tuesday, if you have questions, or you can email me or whatever as you're going through this. So let me just stop here and see that does this make sense to you, at least the structure's there for you to follow? Any questions, comments you might have?
It makes sense.
Okay. I tried to lay it out the best I can to make it as easy for you, your teams to go through.
I also think your explanation of the ideation is very important because a lot of times people don't come up with ideas
Yeah,
because they think of the solution first,
yeah.
and that's more complex. And I think if you don't think of the solution, but you just with what you would like, it really helps.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point because, that's what, this is a different framework for thinking. If you think about what schools use is, and a lot of people use, is having the end in mind. Well, your end in mind, to what extent, is your challenge. But the question then becomes is, okay, how do we, if you're going down the U, the more important thing is, how do we break out of the normal framework of thinking? So this is where we're utilizing a lot of the activities of the U.
Dr. Gold, can I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
Of all of the information that you've given us so far up to and including the prototyping, where do you expect our group to be at by the Saturday session? Should we be at the brainstorming? Should we have anything done?
Yeah, your brainstorming should be done the best you can, because what you're going to do is the team members then on that Saturday, will take a lot of the concepts that came out of the brainstorming and utilize that to build them.
Okay, so we just don't need to have the prototype done by this
Oh,
Saturday.
no. The prototyping will take place on a week Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And if you notice, the format of the teams is that there are, except for one team, there are more people in the Philadelphia groups. So there are, I believe, 4 people in the Philly group for each team except for one. That's so that the online people, if you're not able to attend, or if you cannot Skype in or Zoom in, whatever, actually Skyping in is better. That at least your voice will be heard on that Saturday. Okay. So that is basically what I wanted to give you. And again, if you had some time to digest this, and then your colleagues who were not able to attend, I will put this up on YouTube tonight once it is done, doing its thing, so that people can watch it, and then I'll send out the YouTube link, and you can utilize this again. Plus, I think the 2 handouts I've given you should be enough, to help. And then if you do have any questions or need additional clarification, as I said, please feel free to contact me at any time. Okay? So that's all I have for tonight. I am going to stop the recording. And let me go up here and do that.